Thanks for everyone for attending this beautiful session on weights and biases. This is just going to be a quick overview of the platform, and then I'm going to go into a demo, like poking around in some projects, and then if we have time at the end, I'm going to cover some of the new products that we're working out that work very nicely with SageMaker and EKS. So, my name is Adam Geringer. I'm a machine learning engineer at Weights and Biases, and when I started doing machine learning, it was very, very bare bones, right? Like we would have some sort of screenshot of a terminal screen, and we may move that into an Excel spreadsheet. When, TensorBoard came along, it kind of made our lives a little bit easier, but TensorBoard, I don't know if you guys have ever used TensorBoard. It's not reliable. And this works when you're like building out your first little bit of machine learning projects, but as you scale, you start to really run into major issues with how your team can operate and do machine learning. So after a while, you start realizing that your workflows are not scaling with your company. And when I was in research, I found that there was a huge missing need in the market for a tool that was designed from the ground up to meet the needs of a deep learning workflow. So one day I was helping my friends, and they were working on a project for school, and they were showing me some of the graphs that they had built in Weights and Biases, and within like 3 minutes of looking at the platform, I realized that the answers to my prayers were here. So what is Weights and Biases? Weights and Biases is not training infrastructure. Weights and Biases is not a place for you to execute code. Weights and Biases is an integration that allows you to log your training metrics and post them into a dashboard that allows you to interact with those metrics and sort of start to mine them and really just be able to take a good grasp on the projects that you're working on. So Weights and Biases started as a place to log your metrics, but now it has grown into an ecosystem of tools that many different people use here and there. Yeah, it's great. So Weights and Biases is it's an auditable and reproducible workflow that's designed from the ground up for machine learning, and it allows you to do experiment tracking. We also have hyperparameter sweeping, which the Anyscale people are probably mad that I'm stealing their thunder. We have, a massively parallelizable hyperparameter search tool built in called Sweeps. We also have a tool called Weights and Biases Tables, which is basically, I would describe it as a pandas data frame on steroids, which the difference between a pandas data frame and a Weights and Biases table is, at best, in a data frame, you're going to end up with some sort of pointer to your images. Whereas with Weights and Biases tables, you're able to kind of go through and embed rich media directly within your table so that you can, debug edge cases of your testing set. Yeah. And you also have all of the computational, tool bells and whistles that you'd expect from Pandas data frame. So here you can see we've grouped by the type of animal, dog. Weights and Biases is built for it's a very low level integration. So we can handle anything from molecules to images, 3D point clouds, audio, video, and anything else that you want to embed with an iframe. And it's built to be a collaborative platform. So when we go into the demo in a little bit, you'll see that there are a number of what we consider runs, which you can see down here on the left. These runs are being contributed by different members of the same team working on the same project. So it's massively collaborative, and it's the ultimate source of truth for your machine learning workflows. We also have another tool in the ecosystem called Artifacts, which basically tracks the consumption and production of models, data sets, other sort of artifacts, for lack of a better word. And yeah, you can see that this is a bad inference. And where does that come from? Oh, well, we have a get diff, and we figured out that someone messed up the RGB versus BGR in the images in the pre-processing platform. And basically, as we go through the demo, you'll see that Weights and Biases is designed to track everything. Because when I was a machine learning engineer in research, like there was a lot of things that just ended up being not captured by GitHub or by our Git repository or whatever. So that being said, has anyone here actually used Weights and Biases?
I do.
You do? My man, my man. What about you guys? You're familiar with it. All right. Have you trained anything on it? No? No, just competitive analysis.
No, just it's gorgeous and its visibility is huge. So
Yeah, absolutely. Love to hear it. All right, so this is a dashboard in Weights and Biases. This is just a project that some people are working on. You can see once again we have these runs over here on the left-hand corner. And what I really love about Weights and Biases is the ability to just make the quality of life for a machine learning practitioner a lot better. So there's, as I was showing you earlier, it's a very lightweight integration, but also there's some really great tools like alerting, right? If you're training a large language model and you have your run crashed, like it used to be that I would have to sit in front of my computer and wait for it to crash to find out. But now I can just get a Slack notification and be like, oh, okay, I guess I gotta go home from the park and go check out what I've done wrong with my my training dashboard. So Weights and Biases has this project overview space, which has a lot of interactive graphs. You can see we've got some bells and whistles built in here where we're trying to determine the importance of certain hyperparameters. We also have a native callback with your hardware utilization. Also, it looks like my UI is crashed. There it goes. Are we still here? It's not a good look. It's beautiful. Yeah, no, my computer is, yeah, I may have too many tabs open in a different window. But yeah, so
Can you ask them if they can confirm via chat if there is anyone?
should I just get on his computer? I don't know. I think the problem was actually on my touchpad, so if it's moving up there, I think it's
Yeah,
fine.
we can see it.
Okay, sweet. The thing that initially, when I was living in the wild, wild west of neural network training, the thing that was always something that I ended up beating my head against the wall about was the GPU utilization and memory allocation. I never really was able to get a firm grasp on it because NVIDIA's software is it's designed for production. It's not designed for experimentation. So having this native callback built in is really nice. So if you want to confirm that you have some leaky memory going on, the Weights and Biases has all of this information collected in a single place for you to kind of go back and share with other members of your team who may be able to help you out with with making sure you're getting all of the AWS compute that you're paying for. So as I was saying earlier, Weights and Biases is a system of record, but it's also the center of truth for all of your workflows. So we have this tool called Artifacts, which is basically a lineage, directed acyclical graph lineage tracker for everything that fits into your workflow. So you can see here, we're saving both data sets and models, and we have this nice model that is living right here. And you can see that it was produced by this training run, which used this data set, which came from this preprocessed data set run. And we also have this raw data set over here. And so we have like a whole picture of the entire end-to-end workflow that is being used to create this model. And what's really great about this is like if you have someone who, at my previous job, we had a research engineer who like left the team and he handed us a big zip folder of, hey, here, see if you can recover my work, almost as if it was a challenge. And with weights and biases, we have this model that may be in production or maybe, in a prototyping stage, and we have the entire lineage of what went into this model, who built what, and who contributed to build this model. So we have a fully reproducible workflow here. You can see we've captured everything down to the Docker OS, the Linux version. We have a number of other my UI is slowing down again. There it goes. We also have a pip freeze. Actually, a better example of the pip freeze over here. Just going into a different run now. It's not to do that. So there's a pip freeze, and also we have a cool tool that will do a get diff in certain situations where if you are running a training run and you swap out a piece of code, we have the ability to, here it is, the diff patch. So this is just another way that weights and biases is making sure that like everything that you do to build a model is auditable and traceable. So you said that you had used weights and biases before.
That's right.
What have you used it for?
Some like your computer vision training.
Computer vision training.
Yeah, the good thing for that is you also have the tool directly kind of to visualize the images.
Yeah. I love that. That's something that in my last job would have taken me at least a day to build a hacky version of, and then if I wanted to do it in production, I don't know what happened to that. You're talking about like the ability to slide through different.
That's right.
Yeah. Let me see if I can generate that really quickly. No, I can't. So weights and biases is designed to basically capture your entire workflow end to end, and then also from there be able to collaborate. So we have this great thing called reports, which you can think of as a Notion document. And the fun thing about reports is that everything is going to be interactive to the final user. So if I was talking earlier about leaky memory. If we take this graph and we want to share it with someone, I can create a report, and from here I can quickly, if I'm going to send this to someone on the MLOps team instead of on the research and training team, I can call this leaky memory, and I can embed this graph that's once again interactive, but also a number of other things, images, code, basically whatever you want. It's a Notion document, and when you're done, you can save this. You can save this web page, and you have a sticky link that you can share with members of your team, and other people can come in and comment on the actual on the graphs themselves. So if someone from the MLOps team picks this up, they can they have full traceability back into the stack about what was going on at training time. Here's some nice gradients of the model. And system stats of the GPU. And this works with anything. This works with any sort of compute that you're working with. This works with SageMaker. This works with EKS clusters. This integrates nicely with Raytune. This integrates nicely with PyTorch Lightning. It's a very lightweight integration that provides a ton of value and quality of life improvement to machine learning practitioners.
Great question. So for the report like here, so for the readers, we can, for the pictures shown in the report, it's not just picture, or can they just click and then kind of track like what exactly what's content in that picture? For example, that one, can they just click and then also kind of track like what has been done, right? Like which line means what.
Yeah, so like if we see this leaky memory one up here, what is this? Best overall. Let's see if I can find this. Best overall, best overall. Well, take this random run, right? You can click on this run itself and
You open. Yeah.
you can open everything that was done to produce that run. And as well as downstream artifacts that were collected, if this run created a model or if this run created a different version of a data set. Yeah, absolutely. And the best part about artifacts is that it's very, very lightweight to integrate. It's just a wrapper around any sort of zip folder. You can see here that we're just using artifacts and downloading them. This is just, as I said, a zip folder. We have a little bit of time left, so I'm going to show you guys tables really quickly, which I think is a really underutilized tool in the ecosystem. Tables is, as I was saying earlier, the data frame that's built into Weights and Biases with rich media embedded directly within it. So here we have, here's a prediction ID. We have a truth value, and we have some output logics as well as the final softmax guess. And this is a really great tool because you can come in and you can, say we're going to find the misclassified examples and go through one by one, maybe sort by the amphibians, and whichever predictions were the highest confidence of amphibians, and from there, go through one by one and say, okay, I could understand why a neural network would think this is an amphibian. I don't even know what I'm looking at.
I like that part the most because you can directly compare the prediction with the truth, right? And align with the picture, right? If it's something wrong with the label, you can directly correct it.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, normally this would take like 2 applications and 2 monitors.
Right.
This is not easy to do outside of Weights and Biases tables. With respect to Weights and Biases launch. So what is launch? Launch is perhaps the biggest announcement in the AI community that happened on March 15th. Second place is ChatGPT 4. So launch is a infrastructure abstraction for machine learning practitioners, right? We are trying to make the practitioners of ML and make their lives a lot easier by basically getting them out of Kubernetes land. And I personally hate Kubernetes. So I've added in this nice little screenshot on the right here, which perfectly details how I feel when it comes to going into Kubernetes. So Weights and Biases launch, basically your MLOps person will register a cluster within Weights and Biases, and we will abstract away everything for the practitioners so that from there you just create a job queue, and you can create training jobs and put stuff onto an EKS cluster or a SageMaker cluster or a Kubernetes cluster, or pretty much any sort of cluster management tool that you have that people are using.
Before the launch happening, so when people want to use SageMaker, meanwhile also use Weights and Biases for monitoring, they have to kind of switch back and forth in the SageMaker console and also Weights and Biases console.
Yeah.
But with this launch, you actually can just stay in the Weights and Biases launch and then submit your SageMaker training jobs directly.
Yeah.
So make the work a lot.
I think if there's any questions, any feedback, anyone like what they see, anyone want to get started today?
So I guess you mentioned, obviously ChatGPT 4 and all that. So do you have special tools for large language model and stable diffusion?
Absolutely. So it's worth pointing out that I would say that 90% of the LLM companies are training on Weights and Biases right now.
Okay.
GPT-4 was trained on Weights and Biases.
Okay.
So, Midjourney is another big customer of ours. Because we have a very agnostic approach to machine learning, we can fit into any size language model or any size like training job.
Got it.
Specific tools for large language models. I would encourage everyone to go to wandb.ai/FC for fully connected,
Okay.
as in ResNet fully connected. And you can find some.
Is that like your hub?
Yeah, this is our hub of
Uh-huh.
reports of community developed reports that are exemplary and we would like to share. This was kind of an attempt to be, how Medium was a couple of years ago, where everyone was like exchanging information on how they were doing data science and machine learning. Weights and Biases Fully Connected is an attempt to do that just with interactive graphs.
Got it.
So yeah, this is a good place to start exploring LLMs. Let's see if this is worth anything. Oh yeah, this is beefy, but there's no graphs. Oh, there's some code.
It's incredible.
You do?
Yeah.
My man.
It updated the machine learning use very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Something happened like 2 days ago, and it appears in your ML news.
Yeah.
And then in terms of ML ops and continuous, CI/CD for ML ops, and maybe you already covered this. I apologize because I was trying to fix the audio problem. But in terms of ML ops and determining whether, your new model on new data is performing better or worse, do you have plugins for SageMaker model monitoring or any of these kind of things? Or what is maybe the better question is, what's the intersection for CI/CD with weights and biases?
Yeah, absolutely. That's honestly a great question.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to production monitoring, we are really working on kind of disambiguating what people mean by production monitoring, because there's a lot of things that go into it.
Oh, that's true.
We have been building out our backend to, the wandb.log call, which is the fundamental unit of weights and biases, is designed for training jobs, right? So we've been building out our backend to support, like a continuous inference type environment. We have a set of tools that are currently in beta,
okay,
that are kind of similar to GitHub Actions in the sense that you can create triggers. But I'm really not supposed to be talking about that on a recorded line.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I'm sure you're road mapping this stuff,
Yes,
so I
absolutely.
don't think you really gave too much away. And I've been asking for it for more than a year, by the way, from Weights and Biases. But that said, that's a key part of ML ops, right? Do you replace the model that you're in, as well as do you intersect with human in the loop?
Absolutely.
So on that topic, do you have any sort of human in the loop tools?
Once again, this is future roadmap, but I was showing you this nice weights and biases table down here where you can come in and, kind of intersect the predictions that have been made. In this situation, we have access to the truth values, which in most production settings, you're not going to have that.
Right.
So we're going to be upgrading this tool to be more friendly to human input and correction for that exact purpose.
And then in terms of doing things like partial node segmentation, I mean, I guess, you know what I mean, going from 32 to 16 to 8-bit, and you're tracking these kind of experiments to both see if you can get your model smarter or more generalized and smaller in case you're putting it on small devices. I mean, are there sort of pre-trained things for that? And now that kind of also kind of gets into edge device training. Do you have anything special for sort of edge device training?
It's funny you asked that because my last job was at an edge hardware company. So fundamentally, weights and biases, I can show you this little bit of code.
Please,
it's a very, very, very lightweight integration, right? We're just using this this log call a lot. There's log. These are artifacts, but when you're training a model, you're just calling this log function.
Right.
And so we're agnostic to the point where if it's quantization aware training.
Yeah, quantization is the term I was looking for. Yeah, thank you.
I picked up on that. Whether it be quantization aware training or post-training quantization, and you can also automate that with hyperparameter sweeping, right? Which is kind of what we ended up doing at my last job. Just like, hey, let's see which of these quantization methods are producing a model that has the latency requirements that we need.
Right.
You can do all that in weights and biases because if you have a workflow, if you have a business need, you have a workflow, and weights and biases is just going to pick up pick up the logging from there. We have a very agnostic approach to what you guys are doing. So, and it allows us to support these large language models as they scale. So we don't have anything built in for quantization. We work nicely with TensorRT, but that's yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Great
then
question.
in terms of like total cost of ownership, do you have any maybe either statistics or anecdotes on time reduced or productivity enhanced or costs reduced as a result of using weights and biases?
No, I have an anecdote.
Okay, that's
Okay,
fair.
it's such a
Anecdotes are great.
yeah. It's such a loaded question. I've
Of course,
been asked
yeah.
this question a lot, like, oh,
Uh-huh.
what is the time reduction or time savings that weights and
Right.
biases gives you? I don't know,
Okay.
but I would say it's in like the hundreds or thousands, because
Mhm.
most of the time when you're doing machine learning, you're standing on quicksand, and your environments are unstable. You know, SageMaker does a good job of kind of solving a lot of those problems, but
Right.
I would say that I learned more about deep learning in the first 24 hours of working in weights and biases than I did in 3 years of working in the Wild West of machine learning.
Right.
Like it's just it puts everything on jet fuel.
Okay. I guess my last question then is there a link, or maybe you already shared it, to do trial accounts and demos?
It's a great question. So
I like how every time I ask you a question, you say it's a great question.
Well, what am I
No,
saying?
it's okay.
Question?
Keep it up. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Bad question.
Yeah, bad question. I'd love to hear someone say that one time. That's an awful question, but I'll answer it anyway. Yeah.
No, so you can sign up for free.
Okay.
There's a limited amount of tracked hours of training tracked hours. So if you're training a large language model, you
And
hit that.
can you just get it in the recording here? Like go
Yeah.
to the weights and bias site, and where do you sign up? And so just sign up.
Here, just sign up.
Okay.
Just that
click,
easy.
click the big
Nope,
orange
nope.
button that says sign up, except you're already
I'm in
there.
I'm
so,
in.
Yeah,
I'm on the
you're
inside.
already in. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all I have. Does anyone, I mean, I didn't mean to dominate the Q&A.
Oh.
Is there anyone, let's see, looks fine to me. Are there any questions, maybe in the chat, or I don't know if we have upvote actually running yet. I don't see any questions in here, or unmute is fine as well. And I think the answer is no.
I do have a.
Oh yeah, please.
Sorry. You briefly touched upon the infrastructure abstraction, talked about not liking Kubernetes, and it's just a personal question because it's kind of related to our use case. We are trying to build an ML model, very in its steps, very baby steps, but because of our architectural design, since we are interacting with different user journeys in different scopes, we have like separate ML use cases. And for that kind of architecture, we decided Kubernetes was the best way because we could manage like throttling in a single control plane, requests, and all that good stuff. And also have a single entry point for the CI/CD pipeline. But I just wanted to gauge your thoughts as to why you think that would be counterintuitive or maybe not a very good developer experience.
No. So I should probably clarify. My background is in applied math. So a lot of the infrastructure part of machine learning just is it's not like my favorite thing to do. It's a necessary component of the job, and like what I see launch as an extension of is the ability to get machine learning practitioners to do machine learning and stop playing around with bad environments or an infrastructure. And launch is just a continuation of that kind of philosophy. I think Kubernetes is popular, and it's for a reason. I think it's good for a lot of reasons. The fault tolerance is obviously something that it's required in production settings. But personally, if I'm trying to do distributed learning, I really would rather not touch it if it's possible.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And you want to abstract that out from your like core infrastructure. That answers my question. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions before we wrap it up here? All right. Go ahead. I'm
I had
sorry.
a quick one. Do you have what's the intersection with data stores or featurization? I guess like on the front side of this training you would do
Do you
in
mean
here.
feature? I'm sorry. Do you mean, just clarifying your question? Do you mean feature stores?
Yes, I guess like where does the journey of doing training within weights and biases start? Like what's the starting point?
Yeah, so this is kind of where the traditional ML and the rich media deep learning paths kind of really start to diverge. There's not really a feature store in the traditional sense in most deep learning journeys. There are, analogous structures, which, in this, lineage graph, we can see we have just a data set, right? And this data set is not being turned into like a series of features like you would see in in a traditional sklearn pipeline. So these data sets can live in our storage and they can live in someone else's storage. We also have secure links for if you want to hold on to the data and pump it into the UI that way. But ultimately the necessity of having like a true feature store in the sense that like SageMaker has a feature store is just not. I may be wrong, but it's not important to deep learning workflows.
Does that answer your question?
Yep, thank you.
Of course.
All right, good. Well, thank you very much. I noticed you brought some swag, and we don't have a lot in person. So
Yeah.
I have another odd. Feel free to say this is a bad question.
Okay.
But we've got a lot of folks online. If you leave your swag with me and somebody puts their hand up, I can send it to them. Is that something?
Virtual swag, yeah.
Virtual swag, yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. So yeah, looks like we got a lot of raised hands too. If everyone wants your swag. So is that a bad question?
No, that's a great question.
Oh, it's
I
a
don't
great
have it.
question. Okay,
You
good,
can't
good.
ask bad questions.
Okay, well, I asked someone to marry me once. That didn't work out. But we'll leave that alone. Anyway, thank you so much.
Of course,
Thank you for
of course.
coming and putting up with our technical difficulty.
No, I
here.
love it.
Yeah.